I'm Randy Reid, editor of the Edison Report, and I'm here with Ira Greenberg, President and CEO of Keystone Technologies. Ira, welcome.
Thank you, Randy. Pleasure to see you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And you are the first CEO in-person interview I've done in over 2 years.
It's my honor.
Well, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for the tour, by the way. I had no idea that Keystone was as big as it is.
We're working hard. We're trying to add as much value as we can to the lighting industry.
Well, understand, and this the studio that you got is just phenomenal. I've seen some of your videos that you've done here. But let's jump right in this. I think one of the most important questions that our audience wants to know is tell us a little bit about supply chain issues and how you're dealing with it, because it seems to be the #1 issue facing us right now.
Sure. Well, it's a major issue in our industry, not just our industry, but
Right.
global industries. And normally every couple of years, there's some sort of supply disruption, whether it's a logistics issue, whether it's a materials issue or component shortage of some kind. And we can navigate through those individual issues as they come up. Now we're facing 3, 4, 5 issues all at once. So it's like nothing I've ever seen in my 20 years experience here at Keystone. So I think what's required now in this volatile environment with a lot of uncertainty is the ability to be really nimble. Lots of situations where we have to make decisions very quickly, whether it's about getting space on a container ship, whether it's about getting allocation for materials upstream, whether it's about finding capacity for manufacturing or other critical materials. It's about being able to make decisions and being decisive and doing it quickly. We have, fortunately, resources and a team to help us navigate this. We have a task force that's dedicated just to really the challenges around the supply chain at this particular moment. So this is an all hands on deck situation for us.
And is the components the main issue, or is shipping the main issue?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
From a component standpoint, in particular, semiconductors and ICs that go into many of our products, many of the lighting fixtures that you see across the country, whether it's ours or others, are all experiencing similar challenges. So from what we understand is not until 2022 will we start to see some relief in that supply chain. We pay close attention to a lot of the other electronics manufacturers around the country, and this is indication that we're hearing from them as well. Logistics is also really disrupted right now between the imbalance of containers being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and just issues at ports with worker shortages or worker shutdowns because of COVID-related issues. Randy, it's a bit of a mess.
But your warehouse was pretty full.
Yeah.
So you seem to have anticipated this?
Well, part of our strategy, we know that we need to have it available for our customers same day or next day in order to sell product to our customers.
Right.
We don't have the luxury of waiting weeks or longer to service our customers' needs. So maintaining legitimate supplies of inventory is a core of our strategy. So I look at inventory as it's a buffer. It's basically a buffer in the supply chain. So when there are disruptions, hopefully the inventory is sufficient to sustain the bumpy ride. We see other companies operating with very lean architectures of their business strategy. And while that has an important role in certain instances, I think when the supply chain is quite volatile like it is right now, sometimes that could be a challenge to operate so leanly.
And I think a lot of those companies are publicly traded companies. Do you think that being privately held, family-owned business gives you an advantage when it comes to keeping inventory?
Well, certainly, I like to think so. We can make decisions, like I said earlier in the prior question. We can make quick decisions. We can make very long-term oriented decisions that we don't have to worry about quarterly reportings or things of that sort. So, our commitment to inventory, of course, I want the inventory to turn. We want to make sure that capital is used efficiently. But at the end of the day, I know that if I have to keep that inventory for an extra month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, I'm willing to make that decision, that investment, because I know it's the right thing for the long term.
So we mentioned family. You're third generation, and I just met Fred.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Fred was second generation, obviously. Yeah. And you said you started in 2001.
Yeah.
So contrast the industry. What were you working on in 2001 versus what you're working on in 2021?
Well, when I came into the business, we were just selling power supplies, fluorescent lighting, and HID lighting at the time. And we were really only servicing OEM fixture manufacturers. So highly niche, highly specialized in our mindset. And the business that you see today, that part of the reason why we've achieved the scale that we have is we now service lots of different types of customers. We sell a lot to electrical wholesale and distribution, so that's a major part of our business now.
And that's components such as drivers, and it's also luminaires, correct?
Luminaires, light sources, lamps, bulbs, and so forth as well, and controls.
Okay.
And so we've expanded our product offering dramatically, and we've expanded our customer base because my belief is that we were quite narrowly focused. And here I was, a sort of an entrepreneurial guy fresh out of college. I wanted to grow the business, and that's where I saw opportunity.
Okay, but you still also sell components to the OEM.
Oh, sure.
Is that correct?
Still a major part of our business, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that business growing?
Yeah, it is growing. And what's interesting is it's growing in different dimensions.
How so?
So typically we were most people know us as a power supply company, and that's still very core to our business. We do a big business in selling power supplies, but as you know just as well as I, power supplies are really the core piece, the core component in a luminaire.
Right.
So now what we're doing is we're packaging power supplies with additional components, whether it's controls, light sources, and so forth, and we can make more integrated products for the OEM space than we ever have in the past.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those products. What are some of the neat products you've got in 2021 that you've launched?
So a big trend that we've seen in 2021, a lot of selectability, so color and lumen selectable product. That's really been a huge shift in the marketplace, and frankly, now that there's so much supply chain disruption, it's sort of like the perfect solution for when supply is hard to find. So color selectability, lumen selectability basically reduces SKUs, collapses what could be 9 SKUs down into 1 or many more down into a few SKUs. And it's great. I would say that it's a huge advantage for the customer. They stock fewer SKUs. It's a huge advantage for the installer. He or she doesn't need to make a mistake on the job site by putting in the wrong color, taking it back to the supply house. That just doesn't happen anymore because of color selectability.
So we did this as an industry 20 years ago with multi-voltage, 120 through 277. There was always a premium to get the dual voltage. And then over time, of course, that premium went away and became the standard. Is there still a premium for color selectability, and do you see that premium going away?
Yes, I think over time that will squeeze down. I think it will become the standard. I think just like in power supplies, there still is dedicated voltage product for unique applications. Right. When they know when that application doesn't need the selectability, sure, move to the dedicated product. But most stock and flow related business who prefers some flexibility will gravitate towards this kind of selectable product.
So color selectability is one of the trends. What are some other trends that you see in the market?
Controls. We see lots of integration with. In fact, we're doing this very heavily now in power supplies and fixtures. So a lot of the power supplies we're producing now have interoperability with a host of different controls. So it's got auxiliary ports to be able to interface with not just our controls, but we're sort of agnostic. It can interface with other companies' controls as well. And then that's on the power supply side, which is something that's obviously critical, but we're integrating that into luminaires. We're using, we have a system called Smart Loop, which is a Bluetooth mesh control platform. So we're integrating a lot of our fixtures with this Smart Loop componentry. We're also doing what some might call more standard controls, where it's not connected to an interface. It's just sort of twist it in or screw it in, and it's controllable now.
Well, you say you're seeing more controls. Are you selling more controls?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say that we're still in the early phase of mass adoption. The market we're trying to serve with controls is what I would consider the sort of the standard 50 to 150,000 square foot industrial manufacturing site, warehouse environment, place like that. Not the environment where it's they've got lots of engineers on staff to be able to commission and control and lots of sophistication on site. We're looking for the place that might be a tenant occupied space where the facility manager might also be the person responsible for inventory control, sort of person wearing many hats. Easy commissionability is a critical piece in our view.
Okay, and again, when we talk about color selectability on these fixtures that I'm looking at here in your studio, is it with dip switches? Is it with the phone? How is it controlled?
So both. The Smart Loop application is all Bluetooth controlled, and then we also have some wall switch controls as well that basically use the Bluetooth technology. But we also have mechanical switching.
Right. As we're talking about the technology, can you share with our audience anything that you're working on maybe for 2022 and beyond?
Yeah. So, well, Light Fair is a couple months away.
Right.
We're going to be doing a very large product announcement at Light Fair.
At a very large booth, I might add. I
Yeah.
saw the schematic last week, and you're one of the largest footprints there.
Yeah, we're excited to be there. We can't wait, frankly. It's been a couple of years, and
Right.
It's time to go big and bring lots of people through. And our team's excited about it. We know our customers are excited. Our reps are excited about it. Can't wait to be there.
Okay. So what are some of the products you'll be showing there?
So there's one category I'm going to reserve for the debut at Light Fair.
Okay.
I just wanted to just sort of set the stage there. So everybody should come to our booth at Light Fair. So 2022 is also going to be a big transition for the new DLC standard.
Right.
So we're doing
5.1.
5.1. So we're doing a lot of modifications and upgrades and retooling and so forth for products that will no longer qualify. And that's, not to be understated, the amount of effort that it takes
Sure.
to meet some of those new standards. So that's a big push as well.
Is 5.1 good? Is it good for the industry?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, DLC used to focus really only on efficiency, and now it's gotten into some other dimensions, which I think is great. Right?
Yes.
There's lots more that lighting can provide than just energy efficiency. And obviously with controllability and the dimming functionality, yeah, I think generally it's good, and I think that it's a benchmark that a lot of other industry participants can reference to sort of make sure that products are meeting a certain sort of minimum requirements and standards.
But you sell a lot of LED tubes.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult will that be to meet 5.1?
We're doing it.
Okay.
So it's not without a lift,
Okay.
but we're doing it. And, I do think that there's still a huge market for DLC compliant product. And there's some questions about how relevant will it be for dimming to be part of a tube system. I think that customers value the energy efficiency more than they'll value the dimmability of a tube. But
Right.
generally speaking, I think it's a great thing. I'm in the energy efficient business. I love to find opportunities for energy efficiency and controllability. These are all good things for our marketplace.
Does 5.1 allow the industry to earn higher margins?
Probably not at the
Okay.
end of the day.
Okay.
I think it does start to separate out those who can achieve standards and those who can't.
Okay.
But
Good
look,
point.
lighting is a crowded space.
Right.
I'm sure there will be several companies who are formidable competitors of ours and just strong companies in the industry that will produce quality product. And my view of when we come out with products is never try to produce something that's chasing a price. Do something that adds value to the marketplace and add features, add benefits. That's the stuff that excites me. That's where we can start to earn some more margin.
And I think about, from 20 years ago when I used to compete against you as a kind of a ballast or driver supplier to what you have now. You have something for almost everybody in your product line.
Yeah. I love products for sure. I get excited about lighting products, but at the end of the day, what excites me most is about service and relationships. So if we can go to our customers with a whole basket of goods, or they can look at their bill of materials for a lighting project and be able to source it from a single company, that strengthens our relationship. That strengthens our bond we have with our customer to have them keep coming back time over time again. And I'm a very much long-term oriented guy. I don't think what's happening next week. I think about what's 5-10 years down the road for our company. And so if we can create an environment where customers come to us, knowing that they can get whatever it is they need with great service, ease of doing business, our light made easy attitude, that's where it is for me.
So right now it's about 11:30. If I placed an order for 200 color changeable panel lights, when would they ship?
Most likely today.
Wow.
Most likely today. Yep.
That's impressive.
And if you note on the order that it must ship today, guarantee you it will ship today.
Many companies like Keystone that have had just explosive growth end up getting gobbled up by the conglomerates, and the manufacturing disappears, and the people disappear, and then eventually even the name just becomes a brand. What is Keystone's long-term plan?
Yeah, look, I think one of our greatest assets is our independence. Gives us the ability to do what we want to do, what Keystone wants to do for our customers. And here I am, I'm a sort of middle of my career, hitting my stride kind of a guy. And I have, like I said, long-term view. I love what I'm doing. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I have no interest in being swallowed up like that. That just it doesn't cross my mind.
Do you get approached?
Look, we're a visible name in the industry.
Right.
I'd be concerned if we weren't getting approached.
Okay.
But it's
Good point.
Getting emails and solicitations doesn't change the perspective.
Okay, understood. Let's talk a little bit about the pandemic. We've all been through a pandemic. How have you guys coped, and how has the working from home gone, and what are the plans for coming back?
So, learned a lot about ourselves in 2021. Look, we saw this as a great opportunity to reset, think about what we do well, think about what we don't do so well, and find our areas of strength and build on them. And one of the things that we recognized was, first of all, after we had been sort of in the pandemic for a month or two, and everybody started to get Zoom fatigue and PowerPoint fatigue, we said, wait a second. Right. I did too. Right. And we said, this is it. We're banning the word webinar. You cannot use the word webinar in our company because that's such a turnoff.
Okay.
And so what we did is we basically created, we have another facility not too far from the one we're sitting in right now, where we had some extra space there, and we created a makeshift studio. So the one you're sitting in now is a properly done studio. We created a makeshift studio using some trade show equipment that we had sitting in storage. And what we did is we started hosting live events. We'd invite our reps, we'd invite our customers. Frankly, we'd even invite our Keystone sales personnel who were out of market to join us for training using this live studio. And the notion grew. We were able to really engage with our customers and make it interactive and make it fun and lively. And we got so much positive feedback that nobody else is doing this. This is just such a better way to communicate with people. They didn't want to see us put another Zoom call together. Right. And it took off. And so we basically said, this is great. Let's now double down and invest in it. And we built this beautiful new space in the facility we're sitting in right now. And this is, I think, obviously we can't wait to return to seeing customers face to face, going to trade shows, but this is now part of our arsenal of being in front of customers. And there are times when it makes sense.
Okay. So tell me about some of the employees working from home and how has that worked?
Yeah, better than I expected. Okay. We had a really strong cultural fabric before the pandemic. So very collegial environment. People had lots of friends here at Keystone. And I was concerned that when we go remote, is that fabric going to start to fray? And this is something that we pay particular attention to now, is making sure that our culture, our entrepreneurial and collegiate spirit remains really active. And so, we do a lot of things that even though that we're remote, we're still inviting people in. We had a barbecue for Memorial Day. We're doing sort of lots of different activities, happy hours, things of that sort, to make sure that we keep our bonds together. But from an efficiency and a productivity standpoint, really haven't seen any drop off. Okay. In some cases, we've actually seen improvements. Wow. Look, we're a family organization. We care deeply about people's well-being as a member of our Keystone family. So if people need flexibility in their work-life balance, we honor that and we respect that. And I'm eager to see sort of that this becomes a bit more of a flex work policy becomes part of our standard.
Right. So you don't envision anytime soon everybody coming back 5 days a week?
I don't think so. We will start to come back more. Okay. Because we recognize that there's a lot of synergy that happens when we're all together. But look, I'm a father, a husband who also enjoys work-life balance, and I recognize the value in it. And I think so many of our employees do as well. And I think our country is going to change around that regard.
I would agree. It seems to be working. And
Yeah.
I was amazed too. I was reluctant.
Yeah.
And I was amazed. Let's talk a little bit about your go-to market strategy. You sell everything through reps. Is that correct?
On the distribution
On
side.
the distribution
of
side
our
is
business,
what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
So no direct at
No,
all.
no.
Do you ever?
We're very keen on that. That's like,
Well,
that's a
okay.
tried and true rule. That's
That's
directed
my
at
next
the
question.
Yeah,
So you don't envision going direct around. Do you see your competitors doing it?
sure.
We're hearing more and more companies, as times got tough during the pandemic, it's like, yeah, we'll just go ahead and just ship this one direct. But your core philosophy is against that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about, going back to the long-term plan. You just mentioned that you're a father and you have children. Do you see a fourth generation in the business?
My kids are having a tough time turning off the lights right now. And they're more interested in Pokemon and Little League. But perhaps someday. I think we're quite a ways off from that at this point. Sure.
Tell our audience about the mobile showroom, and more specifically, when is it coming to see me in Nashville?
So as part of our Keystone Live initiative, which is building this beautiful studio space, and the fact that trade shows were basically shut down during the pandemic, we wanted to basically take the show on the road. And so we came up with the idea of creating these mobile showrooms where we have these trailers that are completely outfitted, just as nicely done as we were sitting in the studio, but it's on the road, demonstrating our products. We take them basically to our customers' parking lots and set up a lunch and learn of sorts outside. And they're COVID friendly. We basically open them up from all sides, and it's a great way to demonstrate product. Most customers aren't seeing new products physically. So this is a great way to sort of touch and feel again, and do it in a COVID safe way. And we'll make sure it comes down to Nashville.
So how does it work? Do your guys here drive this around? Do you loan it to your reps to use?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
And
you've got a couple. You said plural.
Yeah, we have several of them. And there's likely to be more, just because the demand, customers want to interface with products.
So you would pull up to an electrical distributor.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have an appointment. You would have the lunch truck meet you there, probably in the parking lot as well.
Yep.
And just kind of go through the products.
Yep. And so we have, it's an opportunity to train. It's obviously an opportunity to sort of educate and sell our products. But, most importantly, it's a way to just communicate in a different way than most customers are seeing today.
Right.
And we want to do things differently.
But it's interesting, what's old is new, because when I was with GE, which was 30 years ago, they had those vans that they would take out. Now, the sales guys just ended up getting drunk and trashing them, and so it didn't really work like it was supposed to. But I'm sure your guys would never do that.
Yeah.
So as we're talking a little bit about products, back in your lab, I saw some neat UV looking devices.
Yeah.
Tell our audience a little bit about what you're working with UV germicidal.
Yeah. Well, look, with the pandemic, obviously UV has become a larger niche than it was. UV has always existed as a sterilization technology, but with the pandemic, it's become much more accepted and understood. Right. So Keystone is also developing products in that space. Certainly on the component side, we're doing a lot with power supplies and with lamps to support.
Do you need a different type of power supply, or is it the same power supply? You just have controls built in so nobody gets injured.
Well, it's a UV lamp is basically a fluorescent lamp without the coating.
Right.
So it's effectively the same as a fluorescent power supply, but it's tuned for powering that particular specification of lamp.
Okay.
So from a technology standpoint, I would call it very comparable to a fluorescent ballast. Now, something we've been doing for 75 plus years. Right. We know that technology quite well. So we've had to make some adaptations, but it's more to adapt it to the lamp type that it's operating. You mentioned a great point about safety and building safety into the apparatus. And yes, adding in cutoffs and motion sensing into, or occupancy sensing, I should say, into UV related products is I think very important. There's been a lot of stuff that's been put on the market, especially early in the pandemic, that was quite frankly alarming to me. That
a lot of junk.
A lot of junk.
That's dangerous.
Quite dangerous. I mean, you don't even know, right? This lamp can be on and you don't see any light, and all of a sudden your retinas are burning. Right. It's really a hazard, and I don't think the industry and the consumer marketplace understood that well enough, and it concerns me greatly when there's a lot of this product on the marketplace that is not safety regulated.
So I asked you the same question I asked about controls. You're developing it. Are you selling any of it?
UV?
Yes.
Yeah. And this is more on the OEM side.
Okay.
So yeah, and
Significant demand?
Yeah, we have some users that the volume is quite attractive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you see, pandemic is hopefully ending, do you see these products becoming mainstream that you're going to sell 5 years down the road?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
so
the
it's
market
going to
will
be a
continue
new
to grow.
normal.
Yeah, I think so. I think what's going to happen is I think building codes will require air handling equipment to have disinfectant devices in it, whether it's UV or some other technology. But just like it's a life safety matter. So
Sure.
just like office environments might have requirement around smoke detectors and so forth, I think there's going to be building codes that will require some sort of air filtration. And there's a lot of studying going on right now around how best to do it, what the effects are, and I think the jury's still out exactly what the full scope of the requirements are, but I absolutely think this is a field that will continue to grow. One of the things that I've taken a lot of ownership of at Keystone is making sure there's a lot of transparency around what's happening with the supply chain. Because when we announce a price increase, people say why. I mean, they say why less now. They still want to understand why.
Right.
And when you see, the 10 different inputs that go into the product, whether it's tin, copper, gold, currency exchange, fuel, all these things, like every one of them is up. This one's up 20%. Cardboard. Yeah, this one's up 20% this year. This one's up 50% this year. It's crazy. It is really astonishing.
So you see more price increases this year?
Oh yeah, this week. I mean, it's every week.
Okay.
I mean, inputs are crazy. It's crazy.
Okay.
Like nothing I've ever seen. It's very difficult to even quote a project that's hitting 3 months down the road. I'm not sure how you manage it. I'm not sure how the big guys manage it. 8-ish. So the first one's around 8-ish, call it, and this one's around 8-ish. So there's 16. I would imagine that even since they were doing the calculations for this last round of 8, they probably got another 8 that they got to worry about easily. Just in freight alone. Freight alone, the last 45 days is up another 20%.
Okay. All right. Well, Ira, thank you so much.
Randy,
I
this was a
really
pleasure.
enjoyed it, and I think our audience will enjoy seeing what you have to say.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
Okay.